challenges of communal cultures. Fear and anxiety. As you're part of a community, the community will watch you. They'll watch what you are doing. Now, this can cause anxiety. Perhaps it's the greatest challenge of living in community. The fear of being watched or the fear of not being watched, the fear of being criticized or being insulted, and then the worst fear of all, of being ostracized or actually put out of the community. This causes real fear and anxiety because one's life, one's identity is wrapped up actually in the mind of others. And so that leads to the second challenge, caution and restrictions. Because you are watched by the community and concerned how the community responds to you, this leads to a cautious and conservative approach to life. You won't easily step out to do new things. Because when you ask yourself, what will others think? You will be slow to step out for new ideas and rather stay safe and just keep the status quo. And so number 3, group control. I remember a colleague from Tajikistan saying, I had no opinion of my own. I simply followed what other people thought. And she felt like others were controlling her. She was bound by the court of public opinion. So if you live within the confines of the community, you may need to ignore what you think is right in order to please the community. For example, you may disagree with child marriage or with lying, but in order to maintain the support of the community, you're forced to support the community and the way they do things. Many an individual has had to sacrifice their dreams and desires for the sake of the family and community. You know, earlier I mentioned how serving and sacrifice for the larger body is a very positive and ennobling ethic, but at the same time it can also be very restrictive and confining. Number 4, lack of psychology. Group control can lead to a society of stereotypes, where each person is the same as everyone else. This is probably a safe way to live as we're all immersed within the community, but then the individual is not important, which means that psychology, the study of the self, doesn't really work, because a person's thoughts and feelings and even their behavior are drowned or immersed within the community, and since the self reflects the group, no self is unique from the other selves. This means that personality tests, personality profiles, counseling, and self-reflection are much less effective in many communal societies. Or note the idiom, doing one's own thing, or let him or her decide for themselves. You know, that doesn't work in a collectivist culture because it's the communal society that decides for the individual. Though, from my personal experience, I've noted there's a deep hunger for personal achievement and personal development to break free from the restrictions and confines of communal society. Number 5, lack of democracy and choice. In communal societies, choice is rooted in group consensus. And so a person's decisions reflect what the group expects. And so this means that democracy, individual choice, doesn't work that well in communal societies. Michael Novak, in his book, The Universal Hunger for Liberty, says this: most people are capable of self-government only when the surrounding society supports them in that difficult task by shaming them when they stray too far and encouraging them with noble examples and daily inducements of praise. Number 6, 2 worlds, public and private. Now, in communal cultures, a person lives a much more public life because they live within and among the community. So what happens when a person makes a mistake? or fails, or they experience or struggle with weakness. This would reflect negatively on the person and then also on the community. And so a person then tries to hide that weakness, sort of like a child covers themselves when they're embarrassed. Or instead of hiding, they will deny it or maybe blame it on someone else. And so this leads to a public life and a private inner life, or almost like two selves, an ideal self and the real self, if we can actually talk about a self. A person will cover up weaknesses and pretend that all is well. They will self-censor and overuse courtesy, saying one thing but meaning something else to present an ideal. And this can result in mistrust and suspicion because as each person hides their inner world, we then wonder, well, what's really going on? What's the person really thinking? And what are they really like? And so then we read between the lines and second guess each other's speech. Now here is the real question for communal societies. How do we make up for failures? We can't bear the shame. Both failure or sin and shame beg for covering. So will walls and veils cover our sin and shame? What about speech and good words? Or what about good deeds? What covering can atone for the sin and shame of our lives? Now, you can take that way into great theology.